Here we go.
Here we
Hello,
go.
everybody, and happy Monday. You very, very nearly didn't get a session today because Darren and I were having a very lovely conversation about what our New Year's resolutions are going to be. And I have just fessed up to him that I have a very unnutritious diet, mainly involving around chicken nuggets, pepperamis, and occasionally a tuna pasta. So 2026, not only am I going to be in better nutritional shape, all of your bullhorns and websites, I'm sure, will be in better shape too.
Oh, great spin, Holly. Great spin.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So look, let me quickly introduce myself, then I'll hand over to Darren. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Holly Langley. I am ex-recruitment operations, and now I spend my time helping customers improve what they're doing in Bullhorn, whether that is through automation, through data, or through making sure that any third parties that are also kind of part of the ecosystem are working really well as well. So I have known Darren for a very long time. I think we actually met at a recruitment event, like when I just set up the business, like 2.5 years ago. But he's one of the good guys out there, and one of Darren's colleagues, Craig, was supposed to be hosting originally, and then he decided to get a new sofa delivered.
He's currently watching from the sofa, Holly. He's currently watching from the sofa.
I did. Well, I'm glad the sofa has arrived. Craig, I hope you have some very comfy times on there. And Darren, anyway, on a complete tangent, we're now going to come back round. Over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, good afternoon. Yeah, Darren Curtis. I'm one of the owners and the CRO for Sourceflow. For those that don't know Sourceflow, we essentially build recruitment websites and recruitment marketing technology for recruiters. Really, those businesses that have a clear focus on marketing and a clear focus on wanting to drive better performance through the marketing channels and designing amazing looking websites that not only your staff and you will be proud of, but also make yourself enviable essentially to your competitors as well. So that's us.
And I think it's really interesting, isn't it? Like I would have said a few years ago when I kind of first started in recruitment, we had the CRM over here, and like that was one sector bit. You had a website, and that was a whole other thing. Then you had marketing and events, and that was a whole other thing. But thankfully, we have kind of now realised that we need to bring them all in together. And I remember the first website I ever built for my old agency. At no point did we even think about having an integration with Bullhorn, which then meant we went live and I had to manually update 200 jobs onto that website and then consistently make sure they were all up to date, and they never were. And that was an absolute nightmare. But we just didn't even think that kind of you needed that combination. And how times have changed, thankfully for the better.
Thankfully, yeah. It's not just the jobs as well. I mean, that's a very small part of it, but it's the data flowing inward. So it's the candidates that are finding their way into the CRM. It's ensuring that the data quality is excellent. It's ensuring that sources and campaigns can be mapped, but it's also the client leads and all of the stuff that you're doing as a marketing function or as a business to drive opportunity into the sales floor. It's ensuring that they're connected as well, because otherwise they go missing and there's no ownership. They don't get followed up. So I think when anybody is looking at their tech stack, I think it should all talk to each other. And a website and the technology that powers a website is very much part of that stack. So
yeah, and it's the shop window of what you're doing, right? Most people, I don't know about you guys, but like I wouldn't book a holiday or buy a car without looking at the website. They don't know that you're going to offer them a great candidate experience or a really comfy, fantastic bed and hotel and the world's five-star customer service. They don't know that. What they get is what they see on your website, and yeah, that is crucial. So over the course of the next 5, 15, 20 minutes, we're going to cover off some key things, and we're calling them hacks, that we think agencies should be doing in 2026 to really kind of move the needle and drive sort of profits and revenue and candidate experience and customer experience and all of that fun stuff. So we kind of just touched on it a second ago. Talk to me about the mapping that happens, or what should be happening from the website straight back into the CRM, because again, as I was just saying, a lot of this isn't connected. But what should people be looking to achieve so they have that link from a candidate and a contact side from the website to ideally Bullhorn?
I think first we go back, and there was a point that you made that it's your shop window, and it is rightly so. But if you think about the high street, you don't just have a shop window that's talking about them. You have a shop window that's displaying all of the things that are good about that store, and so making it very easy for those people to want to come inside. And then once they're inside, trying to make it really easy for them to find the things that they want to find, to check out and to go, so that company actually makes money. And I think the shop window phrase is probably overused in terms of the fact that it should no longer be a shop window.
True.
You should look at every point of it and every entry to it, knowing that there's an endpoint to it. And that endpoint is obviously acquiring either new candidates for the roles that you've got open, or potential future roles, building a talent pool, or it's for generating client opportunity. And then also you get some companies that obviously want to drive more bums on seats, which sadly for them to generate more revenue. Sadly, that hasn't necessarily been massively widely the case in recruitment this year. Mm-hmm. So it's looking at the shop window, but then it's looking at how we transform the visitors into active contacts. And then by using that data, understanding and then understanding how we use that data for better performance. So the first one is, I guess, it's all well and good when you look at the acquisition channels. So you start looking and thinking, well, we've just had a candidate arrive through the website. Great, they go into the CRM and it's marked up and it says website. Brilliant. Okay, our website's providing candidates. The same thing, we've got clients that are coming into the website and they come into the CRM if it's a supported integration with us, and it might say website. Yep. What we're trying to do at the moment is, Holly, is sort of educate all of our customers that is only a very small part of the story, and there is a greater story yet to be told, and that is often where those candidates start before they land on the website. So where essentially which channels, whether it's an emailer, whether it's automation, whether it's an event, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Twitter, I can't use that anymore, X, LinkedIn, all of those channels are the ones that are driving the traffic, or general SEO, are the ones that are driving the traffic into the conversion. So we're telling our customers at the moment that the source field in Bullhorn is great, but introduce a second one, and it should be name campaign or something like that. So when you are getting these candidates, or you're getting these client leads coming through, you can start to then run reports on the real source, the traffic source, to then know where to go back out to. We talked earlier, back out to fish for those candidates, those clients, for where they live, where they're swimming, and then essentially how to bait your rod. We said we were going to get into this conversation. So I think it's just looking at all of the fields for all of the captures, making sure that they are in tune, not just with the CRM, but also in tune with the market, or the channel, that are driving them into the website in the first place.
And I agree with you massively on that. And it's really interesting. We get quite a lot of stuff coming through from our YouTube channel, and we get people come through our website and they say, Holly, we've found you on YouTube and wanted to get in touch. Fantastic. I therefore know that as a business owner, I need to keep up our content, which is brilliant. However, I don't necessarily have the real granular detail about what actual videos, what were they searching for, and that's something we need to look into. One of the things that I think is also really, really important surrounding the source is tracking tracking the whole process. So just to recap, for me, there are several different source options on Bullhorn, and you need to determine what you measure. Like, the source of a new candidate is very different to a placement source, because you may well have had a candidate who came on the website 6 months ago, they didn't get put through, and then a recruiter's found them on LinkedIn, and you can see that from the emails, and therefore the source is LinkedIn. But hang on, no, they came from the website, as an example. Or primarily what we really want is someone is going through on the website, they're on the system for 60 days, and then they get placed. So I really recommend tracking the source of the candidate, the placement source, and then also the length of time on the database. That's one of my favorite things to measure.
Yes, good one.
So you can really see, because if people are converting quickly from your website, fine. If people are coming into the system and you're not placing them on average within maybe 6 months to a year, you might want to look at doing some additional campaigns once they've entered to engage with them further. So always lots of stuff to be considering. How would you manage like a white paper or like a further document or like a download on your website, like especially like for contacts? Would you like classify them as a lead and then put them on the CRM? That then like you'd map the journey as well.
In exactly that way. So for example, I mean, we've got I'm going to clang this for people to download, but the SourceRow website is actually built on the SourceRow platform. It works in the same way for us as it does for our customers, bearing in mind that we're more B2B than we are B2B, B2C. So for any piece of gated content that one of our customers is putting online, it might be a salary survey, it might be a brochure, it might be, I don't know, a trend report or something along those lines. The previous world was they would fill in the form, that would come into the business, somebody would enter that into a spreadsheet, they would look at the quality of it, and then they would allocate it to the sales floor, dependent upon the lead scoring, right? So if they're working smarter, so they might have 2 or 3 downloads. Yeah, that's a really good opportunity for sales. The new world is making sure that data is automatically created into Bullhorn. There's an area which is actually quite underutilized, really, which is called leads, that sits within Bullhorn, and we can send all new download forms into leads. It creates a new lead. We can also create a new contact, whether that's a client contact. Well, generally it's a client contact. We can do it with candidate contacts, and we'll know that from the ID of the form, because typically you'd have client forms or you'd have candidate forms, depending on who you're marketing those brochures and things to. That then finds its way into Bullhorn, but then it's mapped up in the same way that we would map up a candidate. So you've got your source, you've got your campaign. The one thing that really is really beneficial as well is mapping the journey into Bullhorn. So often this will go into notes. There's nothing to stop you actually from creating another notes field, potentially, I think, within Bullhorn, where it's called journey. And that would send the journey that client has been on around the website.
Amazing.
Before they converted as a lead and served up then internally to the the recruitment organization staff. Why that's important, I think for candidates is one thing, right? We can understand where there's a block in the funnel, but I think for clients it's understanding what they've been looking at, the divisions that they've looked at, potentially the blogs that they've looked at, what drove them to the ebook, what then enabled them to download the ebook. Because I think if you take a step back, when you get a lead, you're no longer then ringing up and just going, have you got any jobs, mate? Thanks for downloading a brochure. What you are doing is you're having a conversation essentially about the things that they have been looking at, to elevate that conversation to a consultancy level where you are seen as the advisor. And I think by having that in front of the consultants, being stored directly into Bullhorn, probably positions themselves at a higher plane to that of those that don't.
I agree. I agree with you entirely. And don't forget, if you're mapping that information into Bullhorn, you can then be prompting your sales team to be taking relevant action, and you can even then build like Bullhorn automation campaigns off that. So let's say, for example, you knew that Sandra at Amazon had downloaded a 2025 salary guide. When you launch that, or you're then asking for their input, you can say, well, they've downloaded it or they've viewed it. I'm going to now ask them for further information. Or this person's downloaded this, hasn't been spoken to in 90 days. Let's give them a call. You can build all of that into your website reporting, or build that all into the stuff actually when it comes into Bullhorn. And it does make such a difference, because then you're really getting your recruiters in your team to what I always think is the most important thing, calling the right person at the right time with the right message, right? Well, and that is so important. And you've got that information, so let's use it.
The added benefit is by having it in the system, there's ownership as well. So if you think about all of the leads that are coming into the business, if they sit in a spreadsheet or sit in an inbox, there is no ownership. It can't be reported on. They can't sit there and go, what have you done with this one at a more senior level within the business potentially? But when it's all sat within Bullhorn, there is instant ownership and the ability for, and almost the upper management ownership to ensure that something's being done with them, because they can actively see them. So I think that's hugely important. So you don't get those missing leads, but you get ownership of the leads that are coming in as well.
And I think if we look at this, which kind of brings us on to our next point, like if you're looking at this from a candidate point of view, candidate experience is everything. And I really believe that is going to be even more powerful and important coming into next year. So why is it CRMs have got thousands of candidates with no communication? I was doing a data health check for a client yesterday. They've I can't even bear to say it. They've added something like 50,000 candidates in the last year. 400 had a note. And I was like, oh my God, like,
Yeah.
what do you do? And then, unfortunately, like for me, if we now had to go in and build an automation off the back of that to engage with those candidates, it's going to be 10 times harder because they've not been spoken to for ages. So, like, I really believe that we need to make sure that the end-to-end process is the best journey as possible. And we need to be tracking this. So we need to be sending out net promoter scores to candidates, especially like after they've been in process with you. And even if they haven't, to really understand what you can be doing. And for those candidates who are really like singing your praises and giving you 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5, whatever, we want to be using them for referrals, right?
Yeah.
And making sure that those candidates will recommend other people, because that is such an important part of any business.
And I think it's well proven as well that any opportunities that come as a result of a referral are often closed at a higher rate, but also quicker, because there is also that trust there. So making sure that you're using your your current contractors that are in a good place, making sure that the people that you've placed you're still staying in touch with, and NPS scores are perfect for that. There's still nothing better than picking up the phone and speaking to people, don't get me wrong. Automation has its point, but I think there's a huge benefit for that. One of the things, actually, it's going off topic a little bit, one of the things I really like is sort of in contract. So when a contractor is actually currently in contract, and keeping in touch with those guys, but making sure that you actually start an automation leading up to the end of that contract, because as we know, those contractors are contractors, and they're probably on the books of lots of other recruitment companies, and who are trying to pull them out of those roles. And I remember sat down with a very big enterprise customer a few years ago, and they were telling me that was the thing that kept them awake at night, is not knowing when somebody reaches the end of a contract that we can't redeploy them, and worried that they're going to be already left potentially to another contract with that they might have even had on their books for another recruitment company. And I think that's massively important. If you can get those, it's almost like it's before contractor redeployment. It's way before it. It's ensuring that they're in a good place, that they're enjoying the contract, that they're happy with the service, and give you that pure opportunity to be able to go and speak to them prior to the end of that contract life cycle.
100%. And like for some companies, they'll say that needs to be on the phone. Others will be happy have an email. But keeping those candidates engaged, not just saying, "Have you done any timesheets yet? Have you done any timesheets?" It really, really helps. What would also be really interesting to track, now, I don't think we've ever set this automation up, but I will now be adding that to all of our roadmaps, is what I'm trying to think of how I would describe this. So we were talking about like having visibility on the website. You can see, using Bullhorn automation and various other things, who is on your website. So are there certain criteria, e.g., a permanent candidate who still is in rebate, so they've started in the last 90 days, has viewed jobs on your website? I would red flag that because they're not happy. And in the same with the contractor. If a live contractor is viewing jobs on your website, you need to flag that. So I may well I'm going to definitely write that down, because I think there's a massive opportunity there to make sure that, obviously, we're not going to call them and go, "I saw you view jobs on my website." Like, what are you doing, mate? But I think we need to kind of have that conversation, which is everything going okay? And be really like consultative approach, make sure everything is happy, because we've got access to that information, and we need to make sure that we as agencies are ahead of the game, right? And we're keeping those people within our current business, not letting them go elsewhere.
I think that was I think it's Helena Sullivan as well. I think that's a brilliant idea, and I think you should be bringing that into your roadmap personally. But Helena, and this goes back to probably more so to, well, it could be contracts as well, but it's sort of these silver medalists we were talking about, and it's those people that were drives me to say it, but like the nearly men within or women within a role. They got to the last interview but just got pipped.
Yeah.
And then you don't necessarily have a role for them immediately, but you know they're a good candidate. So how do we stay in touch with those? Because those ones are probably likely to create a fee later down the line. And you might have your bronze candidates as well. You know, those ones that were really heavily shortlisted, they've really liked them, but fell short of the final interviews. And it's setting up automation campaigns for ensuring that you're staying in touch with those guys as well, but also checking that they're still active through automation, but also through the connectivity with the website. You can start to see if they're actively looking for jobs again, and that will start to update note fields within Bullhorn through automation. There's so much that can be done, and I still think we're only tipping the iceberg with a lot of the automations that are set up within Bullhorn. But it all comes down, and we starts from the beginning. It all comes down with the best possible data quality that you can drive, either through your inbound efforts. So what's hooked up through, you know, website being obviously one part that's sending data into the CRM, but also your consultants as well have to take serious responsibility for it, which I know is a lot more difficult. But it needs almost like this CRM. I don't know. What's the word I'm looking for?
Like a health check sort of thing?
Yeah, like a CRM master that comes into the business. It's like a headmaster for it, and just like I'm old school, so there's probably a cane somewhere along the road. But yeah,
Go for it.
it feels like it needs it.
So what we have with some of our clients, we build in, if you have Bullhorn Analytics, we create a slice and dice report. And this is basically all of the key data. So it'll be first name, surname, email, phone, address, skills, categories, source. You can put the campaign source in. You can then run that for your entire business over the course of the last week, just to make sure everything is putting stuff in. And if Joe Bloggs, who works in the insurance team, isn't pulling their weight, you can very immediately see that those records are missing data. And 9 times out of 10, it's either the recruiter's putting TBC in the email on phone field, or something like from a job board or something like LinkedIn isn't being connected in the right way. So it's really, really important to make sure that data that is coming through, because that helps with the searching. One of the other things that I love the silver medalists for is when you're searching for candidates. So if you were to run a search for insurance engineers, I've just made that up, I don't think that's a real job, and you had 750 of them, like, you're not going to be able to call 750 people potentially before 5 o'clock. But what you could do is filter it, and actually 26 of them had placements before. So as contractors, you can redeploy them. 50 of them had interviews before. So you know that actually they're probably okay. So
you're basically creating a tear sheet or a hot list of those silver medalists, gold medalists.
And then it really means that you're kind of being very impactful with the searches and, again, the calls that you're making to sort of improve the stuff for the candidates. But again, that searching is only going to be as good as the data quality that comes into it, as we often say. I feel like it's really interesting. I feel like most webinars that I've been doing recently, we've gone back to data. And I spoke to a colleague of mine the other day, and I said, I feel like I've been just talking about data for the last 2.5 years and improving it. And yet it's still so important and people still don't get it. So like, it is so important to make sure that every part of your process is documented, mapped properly, and that you know what's going on in your system. Like, believe it or not, I still work with agencies who don't have placements logged on Bullhorn, or they don't log CVs and interviews, and yet they're making millions of pounds every year. And it blows my mind.
How much they're leaving? Well, it's how much they're leaving on the table. When I look at those, and it is a bit of a success story. They're doing it despite. But just imagine if they manage to sort of get their act in order when it comes to use of Bullhorn. How much more money they could be making? Yeah.
But once they're done with me, or once I'm done with them, they're in a much better shape. Well, I like to think so anyway. So look, there are so many tips and tricks in there. Now we've got one more little thing to show you. So think back in the autumn, everybody, some of the key, I would say, marketing key players in the recruitment industry came together and worked with SourceFlow to create an amazing playbook. I'm going to put this in the chat now. There is a really good playbook there. Darren, what sort of stuff can people expect from it?
God blimey. I mean, it's really essentially how to use Bullhorn for better marketing. So I think for a lot of years, that marketing really hasn't had much of a use within Bullhorn. There's never had a seat license. They're often running segmented campaigns outside of it. and it's how you bring it all into Bullhorn for one central point of truth. And it's absolutely packed of hints and tips, not necessarily just from us, from you, from the guys at Barclay Jones, from a couple of customers as well. Helena Sullivan, a big shout out to her, and Matt Banbury, who's City Investigo. So people that have sort of lived and breathed it. And it's just sort of saying how marketing can get Bullhorn shipshape and potentially relinquish some of the spend that they actually have on other platforms. So yeah, really good download. We were inundated actually when we first launched it. It was literally download after download, and people not really truly understanding what they could do within Bullhorn from a marketing standpoint. And it's still been probably one of our flagship ebooks ever since. So yeah, if you want to find it on our website, it's on our website. I'm probably going to pop the link in the chat.
Fantastic. Well, there we go. Enjoy it. Happy reading, everybody. Darren, if people want to reach out to you or reach out to the guys at SourceFlow, what is the best way to do that?
Hit me up on LinkedIn, look at our website, put a demo request through, any of the same really. So, or drop us an email drop me an email at darren@sourceflow.co.uk. Or if you've got my mobile number, give me a call. Always open to those. Always open to those old school chats on the mobile phone. So.
I do agree. Well, look, thank you so much for joining us. It was lovely to catch up with you. Thank you for sharing so many insights, and thank you for sharing the playbook as well. And it was lovely to catch up, and I'm sure we will be joining forces and some more stuff very, very soon.
Pleasure. No, thanks, Holly. Appreciate you having me on.
And so, thank you, everybody. Bye.
Take care. Bye. Bye.